Yo, what up? What's good with y'all? Just wanted to chat with y'all, spread some knowledge with y'all, spread some positivity. And what I want to talk with y'all about is, the things that it's important to think about, or the things that, are important to do before you have kids, before you bring a child into this world. Because having a kid is a beautiful thing, but it's like now these days, it seems that like a lot of kids are like growing up with naive parents. That's like one of the reasons why kids be in foster care. But before you have a kid, like, and I understand, a lot of couples before they have a child, before they bring a child into this world, they be all nervous, they be all shook up, they be scared, because of the fact that it's a new thing. But before you bring a child into this world, the important things that you need to think about is that, like when it comes down to having a child is a gift. It's a beautiful thing, to have a kid. It's a very beautiful thing to have a kid. And, it's very important to like hear your kids out, to spend time with your kids, take them out to a movie, go to an event, spend time with your kids, take your kids out, go bowling with them. And also another important thing that I feel that is very important, for parents to do with their kids, like I said in my video, if you ever looked at it, hear your kids out. It's very important to hear your kids out. It's very important to talk with your kids. If they struggling in school, if they dealing with bullying, because a lot of parents don't even know that their kid is being bullied in school because they don't take the time to hear their kids out. They fussing at them for having low grades and stuff, but in the reality of it, they don't really know what their kid is really going through. They probably don't even know that their child is depressed, that their child is dealing with anxiety, because it's like, by parents not hearing their kids out and their kids are like depressed and dealing with anxiety, like they're having suicidal thoughts. When the day comes and they commit suicide, it'll be too late. And, like, the parents, they'll end up, in tears crying. But I mean, that's what can happen when you don't hear your kids out. You gotta hear your kids out. Hearing your kids out is very important as a parent to see what's going on with them, especially if they're dealing with depression and anxiety. They're having suicidal thoughts. Depression and anxiety is not a joke. And the sad thing about it, school doesn't even teach kids how to overcome depression and anxiety. And, like the suicidal thoughts, you gotta hear your kids out. It's very important. Hear your kids out. And I would also say another thing too is when it comes down to having kids, like if your kid is having trouble with something, learning something, have some patience with them. And I understand, I know there's people out there that have patience that are really thin, but when it comes down to having a kid, have some patience with them. Everybody is different. Everybody is gifted. Everybody has different gifts. Everybody has different strengths. Everybody has different weaknesses. But have some patience with them. Have some patience. Work with the kid. Every kid is different. Because, like, in this world, a lot of people are concerned about childhood obesity. Like, they feel like if kids are obesity right now, they're gonna grow up obesity, having diabetes. But have some patience with your kids, when it comes down to sports, when it comes down to a curricular activity, like if your kid wants to get into martial arts, and martial arts, is great self-defense. I feel everybody should learn self-defense, prepare because you don't know what situation you could be in. But yeah, have some patience with your kids. Everybody's different. Every kid is gifted. A lot of kids don't even know what their gift is. They get knocked down. Even their own parents knock them down. That's why I was saying, work with your kids, have some patience, hear them out. Because having a kid is a beautiful gift from God. Yeah. And also too, before you have a kid, when it comes down, like to the arguments, the like because sad thing about it, some kids have be witnessing their mom and dad getting physical, putting their hands on one another. Some kids, some young men, some young girls have witnessed their dad putting their hands on their mom, and that causes trauma, childhood trauma. Like if a kid is like 4 or 5 years old, I mean, like some kids have been through a lot. Some kids ages 4 or 5 have seen people get shot and killed in the streets. I mean, and some kids be like 5 or 6 years old talking about gangs. I mean, you don't want kids to be talking about that, but it's stuff that they've seen before, and it's sad, but it's true. And childhood trauma is a real thing. Like the stuff that a kid goes through, like seeing, their mom and dad, get physical, or, like having arguments a lot every single day, this and that, getting talked to in any type of way. Childhood trauma is a very serious thing, and childhood trauma, it can stick with a kid for the rest of their life. Especially if a child saw, maybe their mom, or maybe their dad, like shoot at their mom. Like it'll stick with them. And it's like when they become an adult, there could be times where they might just flip out because of that childhood trauma. So when it comes down to arguments, do your best to not like do it in front of your kids. Or like if your temper is flaring, you about to go off. I mean, and don't get me wrong, I understand. Marriage is not easy. Marriage is hard. Every married couple has arguments, but when it comes down to having arguments, don't like do it in front of your kids. If you're all gonna argue, maybe you need to like go into the room, or maybe go outside. Don't do it in front of your kids, because when kids have to listen to their mom and dad argue all the time, it affects them. But yo, these are just the important stuff that I wanted to chat with y'all about, that I wanted to talk with y'all about before you have kids, before you bring a child into this world, because, kids is a beautiful gift from God. Like, a child, bringing a child into this world is a beautiful thing. And, like, and some people wonder why a lot of kids don't really be smiling. You got kids out here that have been through a lot, that are scarred, that are hurt. Everybody be saying that a kid should smile, but you don't really you don't really know what the kid has really been through. You don't know that the kid is like crying on the inside. But I just want to break down with y'all, chat with y'all, discuss with y'all the important things before you bring a child into this world. Love y'all. And don't forget, check out my new song, Failures. It's on my YouTube channel, and it's also on my SoundCloud. Just wanted to chat with y'all. Love y'all. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Love y'all.